today we're going to be talking about the degree theory in astrology. The degree theory is the theory that every degree is associated with a sign. So if you watched my video on why some people do not act like their sign, I talk about the decans that are within each degree in a birth chart. So for example, birth chart is divided up into 12 houses, or if we were looking at the sky, let's say the sky is divided up into 12 parts that make 360 degrees. Each part has 30 degrees within it, so each sign has 30 degrees. And then we can dissect that even further because each 30-degree section can be divided into three sections, three 10-degree sections. And the first 10 degrees is the purest form of that sign, specifically 0 is the purest form, but we'll talk about that later. And then as you branch out, that sign will have influences of another sign depending on the degrees. So today we're going to get into those degrees specifically. Does that make sense? To find the degrees that are in your chart, look at the numbers beside the glyphs. So for example, my moon, you see where my cursor is? Let me go, okay. See where my cursor is? My moon is at 18 degrees. My Mars is at 24 degrees. My ascendant is at 2 degrees. A very easy way of looking at them is knowing the order of the zodiac. So knowing the order from Aries all the way down to Pisces. So that's step one. Once you know the order, you can associate each sign with a number. So Aries is first, so we can give it number 1. Taurus is second, we can give it number 2, so on and so forth. Right? You with me? Okay, so since we have already gotten down those numbers, we know that Aries' first degree is going to be the first degree because we've already given Aries number 1. Same for Taurus, its first degree is the second degree. For Gemini, it's third degree. So that's a good way of memorizing the first degree that is associated with each sign. Okay? All you're doing from there forward is adding 12. So for example, Aries 1 is an Aries degree. 1 plus 12 is 13. Therefore, 13 degrees is associated with Aries. 13 plus 12 is 25. So the 25th degree is associated with Aries. And you can do that with each sign. So if you notice, we do not have 0 degrees on there and we don't have 30 on there. We don't have 0 on there because 0 is not associated with any one particular sign. 0 is the purest form of each sign. The closer your degree is to 0, that's the more work that you have to do to counteract the natural tendencies that your sign has. So for example, say we have an Aries at 2 degrees. That Aries is going to have to work on their aggression and their temperament more than an Aries who is like at 28 degrees. You have, degrees that are close to 0 or 0 degrees, you could say, oh, I am like the textbook Sagittarius, or oh, I'm the textbook Gemini, you know what I'm saying? So that's 0. When you get closer to 30, we'll say 29, 30, those are critical degrees. Those tend to represent major pivotal events in our life, events that are going to change the trajectory of our lives or completely change our perspectives or things like that. So if you look at your chart and you see like 29 degrees, that is something to take note of. Take note of like what house it's in, take note of the placement, because each time you have transits going through that degree, kind of pay attention to what's going on. Now, I wouldn't say that degrees are absolutely critical in chart interpretation, even though they are pretty dang important. This is how I would describe them. So like, if you're looking at a birth chart, I would look at the houses as like slices of pizza, and they have like the cheese and the sauce on them. So that gives you like the foundation of the pizza. Like you kind of know like what that pizza's on, judging by the type of cheese and the type of sauce that's used, okay? And then I look at the planets as like the toppings. because as if you looked at my planet video, you know that we can associate planets with like verbs. And I feel like that's kind of like what toppings do. Like toppings like add the flavor. Like they, you know, they make the pizza move. And then you can look at the degrees as like the sprinkles on top. Like not the sprinkles, but like the oregano or like the Italian seasoning or like, you know, whatever extra little oomph you put on your pizza, that's like what the degrees do. So they kind of give you further insight on whatever is going on in your chart. One thing you want to make note of when you're looking at a birth chart, considering degrees, is if you see the same degree occurring multiple times in a birth chart. So I will use my own birth chart as an example. My ascendant, my Venus, and my sun are all at 2 degrees in my birth chart. 2 degrees is a what? A Taurus degree. So we know that Taurus is going to have an influence on those areas in my life in some way. So remember that Sun, Ascendant, and Venus, right? So Taurus deals with aesthetics, beauty, like our ideas of beauty. It also deals with like money, possessions, things like that, security, status, things like that. Okay, so with that 2 degree influence on my ascendant, my Venus, and my sun, it is going to have some degree on my aesthetics and kind of like what, you know, kind of how I want myself to look and how that plays an impact on my security and like how comfortable I feel. So I have a skin disorder. It's called vitiligo. If you don't know what vitiligo is, it's nothing but when you randomly lose pigmentation on certain areas of your skin or loss of melanin. So it's nothing but aesthetics. It has no impact on like your overall health. And it's an early degree. So remember, Taurus has 3 degrees. 2 is the early degree. So this started to play a role early on in my life. So for those of you who don't know, I don't know why you would know this actually if you watch this channel, but I used to dance. I still do dance a little bit, but not nearly as much as I used to. So, but earlier in my life, that's when I did more performing and things like that. Okay, so in one of my very first performances, I was a doll in the show The Nutcracker. So there was 5 of us, and there was like a little makeup. I don't know if it was like someone's mom or an actual makeup artist, but we're gonna call her a makeup artist. You know, we're gonna like, you know, hype her up a little bit. So we had a makeup artist. You know, each of the dolls were going up one by one to kind of get their lipstick put on. I think she put on like a little blush or something like that. But then when I went up there, she was like, "Oh, like you're a different doll." And she got like a little bit of foundation, or it was like concealer or something like that. I had no idea, but it was something like to cover up the vitiligo that I had on my nose, or that I have on my nose. I still have it. And from that point on, I kind of realized that, or I kind of paid more attention to like the fact that I was different, and I felt that I had to kind of conform in some way to make sure that I always looked like everyone else anytime that I was performing, and that trickled over into like my day-to-day. So instead of just covering the vitiligo when I performed, it kind of transitioned over to covering it up at all times. And so now it's habit. So that's like something, and it's like, this is why I look at degrees as like oregano, because like that's not a huge part in my life, but it's definitely like a overcasting type of thing in my life, something that kind of takes place. You know what I'm saying? And so just to tie that all together, Taurus rules aesthetics and like beauty, cosmetics, having a skin condition that kind of deals with like your aesthetic and the way you look. And then that 2nd degree being an influence over my sun. My sun is like my motives and just kind of my overall vitality. What gives me motivation to keep going. Venus is like my idea of beauty. Ascendant is the way you look, with the 2nd degree being an influence in those 3 areas of my life. I have, you know, the feeling that I need to cover my vitiligo, or you know, I might not feel comfortable if I don't have it covered up. So that's something that I am working through. Like, you know, I want to get to a space where I feel like I don't, you know, need to cover it up. Okay, let's not get deep here, okay? You know, that's a way that in which it impacts my life. So it's not a huge thing, but it's definitely some Italian seasoning on my pizza. Okay, so I am going to give you a close-up of today's notes, and then I'm gonna wrap it up for today. If you have any questions at all, comment below. I am the 8th House Siren on all platforms. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like. And if you like this channel, go ahead and subscribe. I mean, what, this is lesson 13? If you're on lesson 13 and you haven't subscribed, like what is the reason? What is the reason? Okay, so I will see you guys next time. And until then, keep studying. Bye.